Hello friends, welcome to Daily Editorial Enrichment program brought to you by La Excellence R&D team. Today we'll discuss important editorial sections that has been appeared in the newspaper The Hindu dated 24th December 2019. Moving on to the first article, in the page number 10 we have Safeguarding Constitutional Morality. The post-poll developments in Maharashtra and the hastily passed Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 have been in conflict with constitutional values. This is a subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions, and basic structure. And this topic can also be linked to government policies and intervention. Before getting into the newspaper article, firstly, let us understand some basics about what is constitutional morality. And this is a very important topic from the mains perspective. So let us cover this topic detailedly and holistically. Constitutional morality means adherence to the core principles of the constitutional democracy. And the scope of constitutional morality is not limited only to following the constitutional provisions literally, but it is also broad term that it includes commitment to inclusive and democratic political process in which both individual and collective interests are satisfied. And then in Dr. Ambedkar's perspective, constitutional morality would mean an effective coordination between conflicting interests of different people and the administrative cooperation to resolve the issues peacefully without any confrontation among the various groups which are working for the realization of their ends at any cost. So, thus the scope of definition of the constitutional morality is not limited to only constitutional provisions, but it is a very broad term which ultimate aim is to provide an opportunity to unfold the full personhood of every citizen for whom and by whom the constitution exists. So, constitutional morality is a sentiment to be cultivated in the minds of a responsible citizen, but to be prompted by an independent judiciary embodied with the values and ethics. And when it comes to constitutional values, it includes rule of law, social justice, democratic ethos, popular participation in governance, individual freedom, judicial independence, egalitarianism, sovereignty, and so on. And when it comes to parliament, which has also brought many laws, which shows great moral commitment like food security law, CRPC amendments made in 2013 in favor of women. Similarly, judicial verdicts too. For example, the recent verdict in Shreya Singhal case in 2015 and various electoral reforms enforced by the apex court since 2013. And then preamble to a constitution also contains the most impeccable goals whose realization requires greatest commitment to morality. Then corruption free, transparent and accountable governance will go a long way in making one and all India realize their potential. So constitutional morality is very important for constitutional laws to be very effective. Without constitutional morality, the operation of a constitution tends to become arbitrary. Then moving to sources of constitutional morality. The concept of constitutional morality remains understudied and that there has been no agreement over the exact locations, but generally there are four sources of constitutional morality. First one is being text of the constitution. Second is constitutional assembly debates, then events that took place during the framing of the constitution, then history of the case laws. And then experts trace this word, that is constitutional morality, and explain how it was first used by Ambedkar during the parliamentary debates. And then an important case which employed this concept in an innovative manner was the Nas Foundation case, which used the concept of constitutional morality to strike down section 377 of the Indian Penal Code and decriminalize homosexuality. Therein, the Supreme Court had addressed how constitutional morality should guide the court's decisions and not the popular morality while interpreting the constitution. And another important fact we have to remember is that the word morality has been used only 4 times in the Indian Constitution, twice in Article 19 and twice in Right to Religious Freedom under Article 25 and Article 26. And it continues to be invoked by the courts in many cases like surrogacy, speech and sexual orientation. As I said before, upholding the constitutional morality is very important because part of our official as well as it is our moral duty, and it needs combined efforts of all the sections of the society, and also to bring in the effective laws in the constitution, constitutional morality is very important. So how can one uphold the constitutional morality? It is by criticizing and raising voices against the non-constitutional practice. And it is very necessary to speak up against any actions which you feel it as illegal or unethical under the constitution. And then only our beliefs and actions for upholding the constitutional values is not enough. It is our moral obligation to educate public regarding the importance to uphold the ideals, and this will be fruitful for our democracy in the long run. And then to uphold the constitutional morality should guide the court's decisions instead of popular morality while interpreting the constitution. And also, we should make a commitment to the values like constitutional supremacy, rule of law, liberty, equality, parliamentary form of government, self-restraint, and intolerance for corruption. Then, coming back to the newspaper article, on the occasion of the Constitution Day, that is on November 26th, a joint sitting of the Parliament took place to mark the 70th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution. And during this event, President Ramnath Kovind made a significant observation that all the three organs of the state, persons occupying constitutional posts, civil society members, and citizens should abide by constitutional morality. And then in this newspaper article, the author says recent developments in India seems to undermine the basic structure and principle of the constitution. And then he gives two examples such as abrogation of Article 370 and the events that took place after Maharashtra Assembly elections. Then coming to abrogation of Article 370, author opinions that it is a temporary provision, but the reality was very different. Nevertheless, it was a provision made in the constitution for a specific purpose and which clearly required more detailed and careful treatment before being cancelling the special status to Jammu and Kashmir. Moving further, Indian constitution provides for a federal system with a unitary bias, that is, the central and the state governments both derive their authority from the constitution, and this implies that states are not exactly subordinate to the center. And the splitting of the Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, without due consultation with different segments and shades of opinion there, including its political leadership, it ran contrary to the essential principle of the constitution. So this move violated the spirit of the constitution, if not the letter of the constitution. Further, the author opinions that secularism is becoming an ugly word today in many parts of the globe, and we in India are also not free of such bias. Lately, it is seeming that biases are beginning to emerge in many circles in India as well, undermining our long-held secular principles. And then, in the very important Supreme Court judgment, that is in Keswananda Bharati versus State of Kerala case 1973, the Supreme Court held that secularism is part of the basic structure of the constitution and cannot be trifled within the name of security or other considerations. And then moving on to the another case where it has undermined the basic structure of the constitution is the developments that took after the Maharashtra State Assembly results. Author opinions that they could have avoided this drama if they had conformed to constitutional values. If you look at the incident, a pre-election alliance of the BJP, Shiv Sena had secured a majority, but the inability of the two allies to resolve issues relating to sharing of the power led to a breakdown. And then President rule invoked. Later, after a compromise was reached between the Shiv Sena, NCP and the Congress to form a government, the President's rule was revoked in a midnight using the Prime Minister's special powers and a BJP-led government was sworn in. And then the state also witnessed incidents such as sending the MLAs to safe havens to avoid horse trading. So these are all the incidents which conflicts with some of the basic principles which are contained in the constitution. And then moving to Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, it makes it easier for the refugees from countries such as Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan to gain the Indian citizenship. But the final point is that here they exclude the certain categories such as Muslims, and this exclusion, this denies the people belonging to one particular religion the Indian citizenship. Further, Citizenship Amendment Act implicitly violates the India's liberal traditions. Given India's many layered democracy and the existence of different religious communities spread across different regions of the country, a more detailed and in-depth study was needed before pushing the constitutional amendment bill. And granting citizenship may be the sole discretion of the center, with the states having no role. But this could still be unconstitutional if it violates Article 14 of the Constitution, that is, which guarantees right to equality. Then, moving on to the next article, in the page number 10, we have making capital out of political rivalry. Coming 5.5 years after the bifurcation, Reddy's 3 capital proposal for Andhra Pradesh is a belated idea. This is a subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of the design and implementation. The Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh has recently hinted that the state could have 3 capitals for decentralized development on the lines of the ones in the Republic of South Africa. And the state can have 3 capitals, that is legislative capital, executive and judicial capital. Vishakhapatnam, which has infrastructure, can be considered for being the executive capital without much investment, and then Amaravati can be retained as the legislative capital, and Kurnool can be considered as the judicial capital. And this idea, that is, it stems from the idea that distribution of executive, legislative and judicial governance across Vishakhapatnam, Amaravati and Kurnool would allow a decentralized development of the state. And coming to location, the location choices are in the upper, central and lower geographical regions. And in this newspaper article, the author raises the question that can a capital city be divided into 3 or more pieces and spread across the state based on regional and other considerations. And then he asks, can the ruling party of the day play with the idea of the state capital, an enduring symbol of identity for people, and keep shuffling it on political grounds? And should a huge mandate mean a license to tinker with anything with scant regard to continuity in governance? And what if a rival political party comes to power next time, reverses the 3 capitals proposal in the midway? Further, the author opinions that if the Chief Minister of the Andhra Pradesh goes for the 3 capital, then it would mean that people of Andhra Pradesh would have to wait for some more time to realize the dream of the capital place. Then, discussing about the history of the capital cities in Andhra Pradesh, the author mentions about Kurnool being made as the capital city in 1953. And when the Telugu speaking Andhra state was carved out of the composite Madras state, Kurnool in 1953 was made as the capital, and many people had to move out of the then Madras city. And then 3 years later, that is in 1956, the erstwhile Hyderabad state was merged with the Andhra state, including Rayalaseema, to form the Andhra Pradesh with Hyderabad as capital. And then, just when the people began settling down in Hyderabad, investing their time and resources, showing their enterprise and entrepreneurial skills, the agitation for separate Telangana state began, triggering a wave of insecurity. And following the creation of the Telangana in 2014, the people in Andhra Pradesh thought that their search for the capital was over with the Amaravati as the capital. But now, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh has come up with a 3 capital idea. And then author says that no one opposes decentralization of administration and development. But here author opinions that bringing the idea of the 3 capital seems to settle the political scores with the previous government. Moving further, then back in 2014, central government had appointed a Shivaramakrishnan committee which is constituted by the Home Ministry, and it didn't favor one super capital and pitched for the decentralized development. And this panel had also argued against the need for a greenfield capital city and to focus on distributing locations of governance beyond the Vijayawada, Guntur and Tenali Mangalagiri urban area. And this panel, that is Sri Ramakrishna Committee panel, has never said about the string of capital across the state as is being interpreted now by the present government in Andhra Pradesh. So, for these reasons, the government appointed a fresh committee headed by former IAS officer G.N. Rao. And he has recommended that Assembly's location to be retained at Amaravati with a secretariat at Vishakhapatnam and High Court to be moved at Kurnool. Sometimes the idea of the 3 capital can sound good, but when it comes to the implementation part, and they need to be tested for feasibility and the timing. Because the previous party in power, that is previous government, decided to build a grand capital in Amaravati and acquired large parcels of the land from farmers. And Amaravati has become a functioning state capital for all the purposes now. And many farmers had agreed to give up the fertile land for the expansion of the capital as part of a land pooling scheme. And now, if the government limits the Amaravati to hosting only the assembly, then it must take into account the concerns of the affected farmers. And also, a considerable work has been completed in Amaravati as a functioning capital, and it should be taken into account before embarking upon the decentralization idea. And then author suggests that the government should be sensitive to the public expenditure which is already invested on the infrastructure of the Amaravati instead of creating something new in various cities at an enormous cost. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 10 we have Brexit on fast track. With Parliament approving the Brexit deal, UK is set to exit the European Union on or before January 31st. This is the subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests and Indian diaspora. British lawmakers gave preliminary approval to Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Brexit bill, clearing the way for the UK to leave the European Union next month. And this Brexit deal got the support of 358 lawmakers against 234. And this moment of success for Johnson, who won a commanding parliamentary majority in last week's general election on a promise to end the more than 3 years of political gridlock, that is Brexit, and lead the Britain out of the European Union on January 31st. And the UK's departure will open a new phase of Brexit as Britain and the European Union race to strike new relationship for trade, security and host of other areas by the end of 2020. And then coming to the contents of the deal, it deals with the issues such as citizens' rights. The settlement among the UK has agreed to pay the European Union and an arrangement to avoid physical barriers between Northern Ireland, which is the part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland. And then this accord will be put on vote in the House of Commons once more, and then the House of Lords will vote on it. And once the European Union lawmakers ratify it, the UK will formally exit the Union. The PM's priority, though, will be to see through the Britain's formal departure from the European Union at the end of January. But there will be a transition period until the end of 2020 when Britain will abide by European Union rules and regulations but won't be a part of it. And during that time, Britain will aim to negotiate the details of an enduring trading relationship with its principal commercial partners in Europe and outside the European Union. So, for these reasons, the author says that a formal exit doesn't mean that the tedious Brexit process is over. Even after January 31st, the UK will have to continue to remain with the European Union single market and customs union, and that is at least for 11 months. Then, speaking about the challenges, the author says the Prime Minister has the challenge to reach another agreement with the European Union on the country's future relationship with the bloc. And there are also legislative and political challenges ahead, even if the current deal goes through the European hurdle. Legislation challenges like is government has to pass a series of new legislation replacing the existing European Union laws. And coming to the political challenges, it has the Irish question, that is, Ireland is an island to the west of Britain and it has got two major regions, that is north and south, with different demographic features, that is Protestant majority in the Northern Ireland, it is a UK territory, and Catholic majority Irish Republic, it is an independent country in the south. And these have serious ethnic tensions within and between them. Previously, European Union's integrated market system had an influence in resolving the tensions and violent trends. But now, UK plans to leave European Union and the Irish question has come to haunt all the concerned governments since there is a fear that new era of violence may start. So, for these reasons, the author says that the Prime Minister Boris Johnson should be mindful of the impact of his Brexit deal on the delicate peace in the Northern Ireland. And then finally, concluding the article, the author says the uncertainty over the Brexit is now over, but the uncertainty on how the Brexit will happen still remains. And also, the Prime Minister should be mindful of the speed breakers, and if not, then the economic and the political cost of the Brexit will be huge. Then, moving on to the next article, in the page number 9, we have South has higher prevalence of mental disorders. Reports find 1 in 7 or 197 million Indians suffered from mental health issues in 2017. This is a subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is issues related to health and disability. Before understanding the given newspaper article, firstly let us understand some basics about mental health care. WHO, that is World Health Organization, defines mental health as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his own potential and can cope with the normal stress of the life and can work productively and fruitfully and is able to make a contribution to his community. And then the Mental Health Care Act 2017 defines mental illness as a substantial disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation or memory that grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize the reality or ability to meet the ordinary demands of the life, mental conditions associated with the abuse of alcohol and drugs. And then, according to WHO report, depression and other common mental disorders, Global Health Estimates 2017, it estimated prevalence of depressive disorders in India is around 4.5% of the total population, and further, 38 million people suffer from anxiety disorders. And then, according to National Mental Health Survey 2015-16, nearly 13% suffer from minor to major mental disorders, and the prevalence of depressive disorders in India is estimated to be 2.7% of the total population. And then, according to 2011 census, there were 15 lakh mentally retarded and 7.2 lakh mentally ill people in India. And then, coming to India's international commitments, there is Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, and there is a target 3.4. It reads by 2030 reduce by 1/3 premature mortality from non-communicable diseases through prevention and treatment and promote mental health and well-being. And then the target 3.5 requests every country to strengthen the prevention and treatment of substance abuse, including narcotic drug abuse and harmful use of alcohol. So when there is a question on mental health care in the mains examination, you can start the answer by the definition or the SDG, that is self-development goals, or mention the facts and start the answers. Come back to the newspaper article. South Indian states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh account for a higher prevalence of mental disorders that manifest primarily during adulthood in depression and anxiety. And this data is according to the first comprehensive estimates of disease burden attributed to the mental health from 1990, and it is prepared by India State Level Disease Burden Initiative, and it is published in the Lancet Psychiatry. And the study also has found that roughly 1 in 7 Indians or 197 million persons suffered from mental disorders of varying severity in 2017. Then contribution of mental disorders to the disability adjusted life year, it is mentioned as DALY, and it is nothing but the sum of the total years of life lost and years lived with disability. And this report has found that it has been doubled between 1990 and 2017, increasing from 2.5% to 4.7%. And mental disorders were the second leading cause of disease burden in terms of years lived with disabilities, and the sixth leading cause of disability adjusted life years in the world in 2017. In the statewise analysis, the study divides different states into 3 categories on the basis of their socio-demographic index, and it is called SDI index. And there are 3 categories under it, that is low, medium and high SDI states. The SDI is a composite measure of per capita income, mean education and fertility rate in women younger than 25 years, and it is calculated on a scale of 1. So from this it is clear that it has got all the social and demographic components. And then the survey that is prepared by the India State Level Disease Burden Initiative and which is published in the Lancet Psychiatry has found that prevalence of depressive disorders was highest in Tamil Nadu, that is loss of 836 years per 1 lakh population, and then Kerala, that is loss of 641 years. When I say the loss of some years, it is nothing but the disability adjusted life year, that is sum of total years of life lost and years lived with a disability, and it is calculated for per population, that is per 1 lakh population. And it is highest in Tamil Nadu, that is they have lost 836 years per 1 lakh population, and then Kerala 641 years loss, and then Goa loss of 626 years, and Telangana, that is loss of 756 years. And these states, that is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Goa, Telangana, these are in the high SDI state group, and then Andhra Pradesh with loss of 793 years in the middle SDI state group. And there is similar data is provided for the disorders with respect to anxiety also, and it is found that it is to be more common in Kerala, that is loss of 383 years per 1 lakh population, and then Himachal Pradesh, that is loss of 329 years, Tamil Nadu loss of 325 years, Karnataka loss of 324 years, and then Telangana and Maharashtra also with the loss of 324 years, and they are in the ISDA state group, and then Andhra Pradesh with the loss of 328 years, and Manipur with the loss of 360 years, and the West Bengal with the loss of 331 years in the middle SDA state group. If you see this newspaper article, they have provided too much of data, and if you can remember, it is fine. If not, then please try to remember at least top or the bottom 2 performing states. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 8, we have Barheaded Goose spotted in Pandalam. And this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS3, that is conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and environmental impact assessment. The bar-headed goose has an extremely large range and can be found in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, India, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Russia, Thailand and Vietnam. And they have also been introduced to Canada and Spain. And these goose prefer high altitude mountain lakes. And coming to their population, their world population is very large with at least 10,000 mature individuals, and their global population appears to be declining, but none of their subpopulations are severely fragmented. And coming to its conservation status, it is least concern in IUCN, and then it is not listed in CITES. And then every spring, large flocks of bar-headed goose will fly from India through the Himalayan range, above Mount Everest on their way to their nesting grounds in Tibet. And they are capable of flying through the passes of the highest mountains at heights of 3,658 to 4,267 meters, and with the winds that blow at speeds more than 322 km per hour, and temperatures low enough to freeze exposed flesh instantly. And at this height, oxygen levels drop by one third. And even kerosene cannot burn there, and helicopters cannot fly at that altitude. And these birds also have a special type of hemoglobin that absorbs oxygen quicker than the other birds, and they can also extract more oxygen from breath than other birds can. And then these birds are not only the integral part of the ecosystem, but they are also important to science. Researchers believe that with better data about the barheaded goose resistant to extreme temperatures, they could help humans better cope with altitude and respiratory diseases. Recently, these birds were spotted near Karingali Puncha, that is near Pandalam district in Kerala. And this place is a major birding spot in the district, which reported the highest bird count in the Asian waterfowl census of 2015. Before 2 years also, these birds were spotted in Periyar Lake at Thekkady in Kerala. Before that, these birds were also spotted in Thrissur Kole fields and in Kollam. And then these birds used to visit the Kuntakulam bird sanctuary at Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 12, we have Russia is hopeful of India's free trade pact with Eurasian Economic Union. And this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and affecting India's interests. Russia is looking forward to India concluding a new free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. And in the backdrop of this news, it is very important to cover basics about Eurasian Economic Union. Eurasian Economic Union is an international organization for regional economic integration, and it has got the international legal personality, and it is established by the Treaty on the Eurasian Economic Union. And the composition includes Russia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. And it has free movement of goods, services and labor, and it has its own bureaucratic structure, and that includes Supreme Council, Intergovernmental Council, Eurasian Economic Commission and Court of the Eurasian Economic Union. And then its objective is to expand markets and rebuild some of the manufacturing chains destroyed by the collapse of the Soviet Union. And it has created a single market, a common custom code, a common customs tariff, common foreign trade and customs regulation, and a common legal framework of technical regulations. Russia wanted to expand its influence on the countries that broke away from Soviet Union to prevent US, European Union and China from gaining the foothold. That is, both in terms of economic and security in the region. And then another aim is to revive the old Soviet might in the economic sector, which was lost after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And also economically, Russia is battling number of economic sanctions. For these reasons, it has created a Eurasian Economic Union so that economic union is created and it will decrease the trade dependency on Western countries, and also due to low tariff and non-tariff barriers, there will be boost to trade and investment in the Russia. And the members of the Eurasian Economic Union amounts for 1/4 of the world energy resources, and they would have better cooperation in this area and can influence the world market also. Further, Eurasian Economic Union has an integrated single market of 180 million people and a GDP of over $5 trillion. And then Eurasian Economic Union encourages the free movement of goods, services and provides for common policies in the macroeconomic sphere, transport, industry, agriculture, energy, foreign trade and investment, customs, technical regulation, competition and antitrust regulation. And as I said, it has got its own bureaucratic structure, that is Supreme Council. It is the Union's supreme authority, and then Intergovernmental Council, and it is a Union's body consisting of the heads of the member state governments, and then Eurasian Economic Commission, and it is a permanent supranational regulatory body of the Union, and then Court of the Eurasian Economic Union, and it is the Court of Justice of the Eurasian Economic Union, which ensures the uniform application of the Union Treaty and other Union treaties by the Union member states and bodies. And then if India joins the hands with the Eurasian Economic Union, then India has got benefits. For example, economically, since trade around the world is getting regional, and India should maximize its entry into the trade unions to diversify its markets. And then better cooperation with Russia and Central Asian countries. Though we have good relation with them, but the goodwill was not converted into better economic and strategic relations because of connectivity and other problems. And then our energy security needs would be justified, and not just from Russia but also with the Central Asia. And then we can also have good market in these countries, especially in IT, pharmaceuticals, textile sector. And this will boost our Make in India with better investments from these regions. And then it fits in well with the India's Connect Central Asia policy, which was unveiled in 2012 but has lacked the proactiveness from Indian side. And then if India engages with the Eurasian Economic Union, then Russian fears of India's growing proximity to USA will decrease. Then moving on to the today's prelims practice question. First question is based on Eurasian Economic Union. Choose the correct answer. Then the second question is based on Barheaded Goose. Choose the correct option again. And the third question is based on Monetary Policy Committee, and this is a previous year question that has been appeared in the year 2017. Choose the correct answer and comment your answers in the comment box. I'll review it, and tomorrow we shall discuss the answer for these three questions. Thank you for watching.